Hi guys, as promised, here is a video on recognizing cadences and recognizing chords. I'm going to split this video, it'll be the same video but split into two kind of sections. First one on just recognizing chords, then we'll look at how that goes into kind of cadences and whatnot. So, I'm going to talk a lot about a process, which I've spoken to you about in class. It's the way that works for me, it's the process, the little baby steps you take to recognizing the chord. Eventually, it'll become second nature. I've used that analogy of the hill start a couple of times with you. First time you learn to do a hill start, you have to break it down into all the different bits. Eventually it becomes second nature. This is no different. So I'm going to crack right into it. So if I play these two chords, we need to figure out what the second chord is. Now, I'll tell you the first chord, C. You always need that starting point, really. It makes it a lot easier, and that's how we're going to do it in the test. So that's what we'll do. So the first chord is C. So now we need to figure out what the second chord is. Okay? So step one of Tim's magical process is to listen to it. Just listen to it. Don't do anything. Put your pen down, you know, just go. Okay, so it's locked in your head. Step two is to work out whether the second chord is major or minor. And you might just be able to do that by listening to it. Singers, get your arpeggios, your that's major to me, it sounds major. You might just be able to hear it. It's a major. So, we know that the second chord is major, we know that that's the chord we're looking for. If we use our diatonic series that we've learned, our major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major, the only major chords you'll find are the first, the fourth and the fifth. So that narrows it down. So, we know it's going to be one of those three. We know it's not C because that's the first chord. I've already told you that that's a C, and it's not going, it's going. So we know that it's not C. Eliminate that one, which leaves us the fourth and the fifth. So then go to your intervals. Rely on your intervals. Listen to you, hum them to yourself. I have to say, when we had the test on Monday, I heard people humming themselves. That's brilliant. It's great practice. Don't feel silly about doing it. I still do it. I did it on the train the other day. People looked at me weird. I don't care. It helps, so do it. So we hum our intervals. Now, if we say we know it's either the fourth or the fifth, so let's take our fourth, our perfect fourth. Away in a Manger is the song I always remember it by, so, or Apache by Hank Marvin. So away in a manger, away. So that's our interval. That's what we're testing out. So we go away. Ugh, it's not that. It sounds awful. Okay, so it can't be the fourth, so it's got to be the fifth. So we try it. Our interval for the perfect fifth, I always use Star Wars, da 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 da. So we go da da. Brilliant. That's what it is, and that's it. And that'll work for any chord you hear. So that's a major one. Let's just try a minor one, just so you can kind of hear it. So if I go, okay. So again, listen to it. Get it locked in. Now, is it major or minor? I've just told you it's minor, but if I go, it sounds minor, doesn't it? So, okay, fine. We know it can't be the first, we know it can't be the fourth or the fifth. It's got to be either the second, the third, or the sixth. Now, again, you can use your intervals. To me, I can always identify the sixth because it's a bit of a jump. If I go, it just sounds a bit further away than the other two, so that's a lot closer to me. It sounds a lot closer, so we can eliminate the sixth, or you can use your intervals. That'll work as well. So we know it's the second, the third, or the sixth. So let's work through our intervals. So the intervals it can be are one of those three. You can hear that jump to the sixth, can't you? It's massive. Da, da. So it could be or So let's work it through. So if I go take that as the first one. It's not that. Doesn't sound right. So then we go to the next one. That sounds it. That's it. Perfect. Tick that one off. And that's essentially the process for working out what chords what. Find out whether it's, listen to it, find out whether it's major or minor, use your intervals. So if we're then going to apply that to cadences, a similar kind of process, certainly for perfect and plagal. These are the first two I'm going to concentrate on because they're always the same. you can't argue with it. So if we take a perfect cadence, okay, listen to it, identify whether they're major or minor. They're both major, they stand out. It's also a very resolved cadence, the perfect cadence. It's a perfect cadence. It's, you know, da da. It sounds resolved, full stop. Musical full stop. It's a kind of term that a couple of you have banded about. Musical full stop. Full stop. So that's one identifier. It sounds resolved, which narrows it down to either perfect or plagal. So then we go to our intervals again. So you go da da, flip it round. I always prefer to flip it round. I find ascending far easier than descending. It's just the way my brain works, but you might be able to do it. So you go da da, flip it round, da 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 da. So it's got to be the fifth. That's basically it. I'll show you again with the plagal because again I've kind of rattled that through. So you hear this. Okay, listen to it. Identify if they're major or minor. So, oh, so I'm going the wrong way. So I'm going. So okay. So identify whether they're major or minor. So. To me, they both sound major, so you go with the major thing. It's either perfect or it's plagal. Do your perfect fifth, da da. So it'll be da da da. That's not right, so it's got to be plagal. So we go da 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 da. It's our perfect fourth, da da, and that's how it works. So your intervals are really important with these. So if you are still a bit hazy on them, just go through that sheet that I gave you. I'll put that up on Facebook as well so you can have a look at it as to what songs relate to what intervals, because that is really handy. So those are perfect and plagal. If it sounds resolved, it's going to be one of those two. So ignore the other two and just go with those. If it sounds unresolved, then it's going to be interrupted or imperfect. Now there's a great rule for identifying the difference between the two of these. If you've watched the previous video or if you've just been paying attention, you'll know that an imperfect cadence ends on the fifth chord. And that's the important bit of information there, because that identifies the difference between an imperfect and an interrupted. So, slightly different process. Listen to it. If I go, say for example, I go, ugh. Okay, so listen to it. First of all, does it sound resolved? No, to me it doesn't anyway. Not really. So you know it's not going to be perfect or plagal. So we're down to either interrupted or imperfect. And now you listen to it. Listen to the shape. It's going up. Now, as a general rule, that means it's kind of, if it's going up, it's not going down. So listen to the shape. To me, that sounds like it's going up, and it sounds like, again, if we use our intervals, if we flip it round, it sounds almost, it's very close to that, isn't it? But not quite. And we know is our perfect cadence. So that sounds like it's, now we flipped it round, it sounds like it's going from, say, 5 to 3 or 5 to 2, but we flipped it round, so it's actually going from 2 to 5 or 3 to 5. So it's ending on the 5. If it's ending on the 5, we know it's an imperfect cadence. So that's the thing to try and spot. And there are various different ways that you can spot whether it's the 5 or not. That's the one I do, is always try and relate it to, so find a strong cadence, a perfect or a plagal, and then relate it to that. If it ends on the 5, it's imperfect. If it doesn't, it's interrupted. So if we just play an interrupted for you, you can hear that, or A, it's not resolved, it doesn't end on the 5, the shape's going down. That doesn't always work. If you've got, say, you know, that would be an imperfect, but you'll be able to hear that on the piano. I hope this all helps. Again, it's practice. You're going to have to kind of go over it a few times. So, you know, don't worry if this doesn't come straight away after watching this video. But I've seen your test results. You're all more than capable of doing this test on Monday. So good luck with it, and I'll see you Monday.